Yeah, no,
and you just like it's like your body finds a balance.
Yeah,
like
it's really nice. It's definitely something. Listen, I like all kinds of high. We've started now. Like,
oh,
nice.
lovely.
We started
Beautiful.
after we incriminated ourselves. Like, there's nothing visual at all. Like, nothing at all. We started
nothing visual at all.
We started like during the jogging conversation. Like,
and absolutely zero millennial pauses are present on this podcast.
I don't even know what that means.
So it's a term I found out about this week. The millennial pause is like when someone who's a early millennial versus like a Zoomer starts taking a video. Let's say they have their phone. They like press record and they wait to make sure the phone is recording. And there's like a little pause at the beginning of their video. So it'd be like, click.
Oh,
hey guys, it's me, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like Zoomers will already be talking when the video starts because they're just like that much more used to like it's just gonna work, you know.
Gen Z
that is true. You think so?
I was gonna say, Purvis, you're at the cutoff, I think, and I'm technically like the first Gen Z. So
I had Android. Like, I made a switch.
Like I didn't realize like that. I was
no, not Android phones. Androids like robots.
Oh.
No. Like,
well, in that case.
No. Yeah, I don't think they're real. I think they're like fake science people.
That's me.
Fake science people.
Can confirm.
Yeah, like that's
you just like the birds are real. You hang out with my little brother's friends for an hour. You'll find that that's correct.
Yeah, it's like these are cyborgs. These are, and like they will destroy us for that reason. Like,
they will destroy us.
Their ability to process information is just not something we're gonna be able to do. Like,
yep.
I'm not gonna lie. Actually, though, like my niece, like already, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah. It's like, just there,
on, bro.
It's just there.
It's just built in. She walks around with an AirPod just like in her ear, like nonstop. And I'm like, "Are you even listening to anything?" It's like, "No." And I'm just like, "I want to take it and throw it across the street." And I feel like such an old person. And I'm the one that bought the AirPods for her.
Oh my god,
that's boomer. You gotta
just like God.
You gotta wrestle that demon to the ground. But at the same time, like. If I ever am cursed with or not, like I don't want them to not have technology, but I'm gonna try my hardest.
Right.
Like the remote meme, like looking at the TV. Oh boy, man-made horrors beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, wow, this is the world's worst.
Honestly, we predicted this was gonna happen. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, I mean.
We ruined the earth for them. They can do whatever they want.
We didn't ruin shit. It was the generation.
Okay.
We were birthed into a burning house. Like
facts.
The house I didn't ask to be here.
Yeah, I didn't
by Isaiah Rashad, people. Like, segue.
You know,
I was low-key gonna.
That's why I think. All right, I'm gonna probably put a graphic in here.
Oh boy.
Revolution now. Like
and on
destroy everything.
Like just burn it down. Start over. Like
it's funny, like what you just said.
Worse? Like,
I guess so.
I mean, yeah, we could be in Alabama, like
we could,
or Afghanistan. Those are about equal.
There you go, losing us our Afghan viewers. Come on, man.
It's our fault.
We are inclusion here.
To our Afghanistan viewers, I recognize that it is monsters. Our government.
Yes.
Well, you don't like America. I don't like them either.
Yeah, Britain sucks. Everything bad in the world has come from Europe, especially us. Like,
this is true. This is true.
Like,
good take.
Yeah, that's my take. Like, whenever like a very uppity person is going on about their trips to Europe, I just go, everything bad in the world. The Black Plague, America, chattel slavery, capitalism.
You name it.
The census. The census.
Yeah, the census. That stupid fucking accent. I could go on.
The stupid accent.
Harry Potter. Like, you're named after the language. Speak it right. Like,
oh boy.
They'll challenge you and say we don't speak it right.
There are gonna be some angry chavs in the comments on this one.
The blokes.
I would rather.
We don't cover enough Skepta.
I would rather. Yeah. I mean, no hate to Skepta. Grime's pretty cool. But, like...
Wait, I'm covering
Stormzy,
Stormzy.
we like them. We
Hey,
like
there you
them.
I would rather talk my way out of Louisiana. But,
You wouldn't make your way out of Louisiana.
oh, no, I would not. Because I would
there are sundown towns over there, so, you know.
Yeah, I'm, like, right on the cusp with that. Well,
You might be able to make it out
I
alive.
might be able to.
But anywho,
Yeah.
enough about the horrors of the world that we live in.
Yeah.
Um,
Purvis, what albums are coming out this week?
right. Let's get to what we find joy in. There's been rumors, heavily rumored, that it's coming out this year. A lot of people have been saying that it could be this week because it is the 3-year anniversary, I want to say, to his last album. Hold on, let me double check. I don't want to lie. It is the 4-year anniversary coming up to Death Race for Love. Yesterday was the 4-year anniversary for Juice WRLD. It's a lot of rumors that The Party Never Ends will be dropping as of this week. I'm super excited, although it is about 27 songs long.
I have a question about this.
All
Is
right.
The Party Never Ends as like a tagline something Juice WRLD created for his own music, or is this specifically referencing the opening of that Travis song off Astroworld?
That's a good question.
Because
I'm not too sure, actually.
So that Party Never Ends also
That is
plays-
Juice WRLD.
That is it's Juice WRLD featured. What song is that? I'm total No Bystanders. It's No Bystanders.
What a song. Great song.
So it's on that, but it's also on the closing. It's like the closing little snippet on, I think it's the last track off of his latest album. Was Legends Ever Die?
I
Let's
think
see.
so.
No, not Legends Ever Die.
Fighting
it's the other
Demons?
one. Yeah. It's in there somewhere. It's like the last track. I think it might be the last track on Fighting Demons. At the very end, there's that.
I'll believe it. I mean, they said it's supposed to be the last one, which I guess would explain the 27 songs. It's just the last dump of
Right.
songs.
I'm just so curious whether or not this is something that he's like actually put in other music of his that I've never noticed, or if it was like that impactful of a thing off of Astroworld where it's like he kind of took it and ran with it. I don't know where it came from.
It's a good question. Was he alive during Astroworld? Technically, he was.
Yeah, because he passed away in December 2019. I thought.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
because
honestly don't know.
Astroworld came out in August of 18, right? Or
Yeah,
something
18.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Same day as swimming.
fun fact: a lot of people think that feature is Post Malone.
Really?
Yeah, I saw like interviews about it where people were trying to name like features on Astroworld,
yeah,
and a lot
yeah.
of people were saying Post Malone instead of Juice WRLD because I guess with the vocal distortion on it sounds a little bit like Post, but I feel like I've listened to enough Juice WRLD to know that it's like, well, this is pretty clearly him. But
I was gonna say, you know, if you know.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just people didn't know. But yeah, I'm here for it. I mean, I don't mean it's in a
inherently
dis.
kind of gross, but
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was
like,
gonna say. I don't mean it in a negative way. I hope it's the last one.
Yeah,
But I hope that is good.
I hope this. Comes
But I hope
out,
it's the last
I
one.
hope this comes out and it's like, oh, this is a nice ode to Juice WRLD's legacy,
Right.
and not, oh, this is them shaking that grave, trying to see if there's any more gold coins in it. You know, because
Yeah.
There is.
you know, I think Juice WRLD has albums that fall into both camps.
Mhm.
with that said,
Um,
I feel like there's just like the element of having it versus not having it. You know, like I appreciate that stuff of his is coming to light, even if it wasn't, during his time.
You know, on one end, I agree. You know, on the other hand, like the reason Anderson .Paak got
The tattoo.
the
on
tattoo
his-
that says "Don't publish
Release
my masters
any music after I
I
leave."
die." You know,
Right.
I think when in doubt, I would default to like artists when they pass not want like all like death.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there are contexts where it's appropriate. I think Circles is like prime example of like
This is done correctly.
This needed to come out. This
Right.
doing good.
Yeah, or like I think of Faith, the Pop Smoke record.
Yeah,
where it's
that was
like-
the one that came out in 2020.
It's the second one. So the first one was Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, and then the last one, the most recent one was Faith, which was basically like and I don't know how true this is, but the way I heard it, it was 2021. It wasn't as highly received because it wasn't the debut album, whatever, and he hadn't just passed away. But this album is totally stacked with features. And from what I understand, this album was like half done. And basically, a bunch of artists all came together and packed this album out with their features so that it would be released and then it would secure like the future for his family and stuff like that because it would do better numbers with all these people on it. So
I mean, like,
in a certain context, I feel like it's valid.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, I would say that's a context where it's valid. I just think like
that's
the
good.
default.
Yeah.
That's not the case. If the streaming numbers for Faith are going towards keeping family alive, then yeah, I don't think that there's a context where that's inappropriate. Unless of course the artist is like, please never release this, like unless like it's explicit, because I do think that comes first. I will say that, but I agree. There is a context for everything, so it's not black and white.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this like track listing right now. This album is so stacked, it's crazy.
The Faith one?
Yeah, you've got like Pusha T and Kanye, Rick Ross and The Dream, 42 Doug and 21 Savage, Pusha T again, Busy Banks, Takeoff, Lil TJ and Sway Lee, Future, Chris Brown, Dua Lipa, Pharrell, Kid Cudi, Quavo, and Kodak Black. Like, bro.
Dua Lipa. What the
That song bangs though. Demeanor?
That is fair.
Yeah.
As long as it sounds good, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
That's I think that's why I said that.
Yeah.
But in terms
to the one I'm very
Brandon, do you want to announce your Griselda?
I actually was unaware of this. Technically Conway's not on Griselda anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they're friendly, but
he's on Griselda to us.
To
me, he is.
He's West Side Gun's cousin, and he left on good terms. So he basically still
he's on Griselda.
Yeah, but he technically this, Griselda. This isn't going to be under the record label, but yeah, it pretty much still is. But I just heard about this when I opened the doc earlier. Conway the Machine and Jay Ski fighting Pain, Provided Profit.
Yeah,
I see Conway the Machine.
For it.
I am there. And seeing that he's been dropping singles, I kind of been holding off just because I've been exploring the new discovery features on Spotify. And I'm kind of album cover. So I'm like, album and that motherfucker. So this is gonna be great.
I mean, I'm here for it. When you sent me that TikTok of anytime I hear a soul beat, I just instantly think of the ad libs. It's not gonna go away. I feel like
boom, 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 boom.
It's never gonna stop.
An artistic genius.
Yes.
The next Kanye.
All right. Anywho, moving on. We have. We have Blast drop. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But Blast dropping Just for Clarity 2 EP. Super excited for that. No, yeah, this guy has been on my radar.
Because he was at Lala last year.
I think he was at Lala. I don't know if I made a set because I only went to one day. But super excited for him. He's gained a lot more popularity with this song that he did with Kendrick Lamar. So good for him. I'm excited for whatever he's going to put out. I'm here for it. Another collaboration album coming out is Music Soul Child and Hit Boy is dropping Victims and Villains. Super excited for that as well. I'm ready for that to come out. And for some reason, Soulja Boy is dropping an album called No Cap in My Rap.
Somebody get this. Somebody come fucking get this man. Take Uncle back to the barbecue. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Jazz,
I don't know what to say.
do not think you are dark enough to make that joke.
I thought it was.
It was a good joke.
I like it. It was a good joke.
It's a good joke. I'm just saying, right? But no, yeah,
I love that.
This is ridiculous. Look, I think Soulja Boy deserves honest credit for for some legitimate innovation a couple generations ago.
I'll give him 3 years. I'll give him 3 years. Anything else past that, don't care about. I'm sorry.
No, like I think he legitimately like brought rap like hip hop to the like
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like he
I'll
has,
give him those 3 years.
Yeah, no, he has legitimate like flowers we need to get. But beyond that,
And then he ruined it.
No, like I just have not been interested in here for 10 years.
I'm not
That's
giving
his
this
own
man
fault.
any flowers for anything after he blatantly scammed people for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Blatantly,
Yeah.
I mean,
blatantly.
although
like
it's like the
cash
Kanye
grab,
thing.
blatant like bullshit.
It's like the Kanye thing, though, right? Like,
no, it's not. I don't think so.
How so? Because
Wait, are you comparing it to STEM player?
Is this cash
I
grab?
mean,
No,
I am
it's total. So I'll say it's totally different, and here's why. The units that Soulja Boy sold, these game consoles, were existing products that were drop shipped.
I'm aware of the
and the STEM player is a piece of technology that he
not
basically
comparing
like.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. What were you saying?
Well, Purvis held it up, so
Yeah,
I was just wondering, is
I'm
this
not
what we were
comparing
referring
it
to?
the STEM player.
What
What
are
I'm
we-
saying is like we've kind of agreed that we have long conversations that despite some really questionable rhetoric, you don't discredit Kanye's contribution to the genre. I think the same goes for Soulja Boy's drop shipping scam. And I would say a drop shipping scam is, while a literal crime that like I am okay with that person like being charged with. Is it morally worse or equivalent to like the Nazi rhetoric? Like I would disagree with that.
maybe. I mean, for
Yeah,
me, it's
and, like-
one is a directly material thing, and the other is an ideological one, where it's neither one
Both
is
bad.
good.
No,
Both are bad. But I will say, like, just the fact that it's like someone of this caliber and profile feeding into a like really what is a international social issue right now with like fraud
Yeah.
post pandemic. That's a problem that is, I think, a lot more like in the near term than Kanye's rhetoric and the impact that has. Even though it's still, it's just not as tangible to me. That's the thing.
I mean, I patently disagree. Like, I think there's been, and look, Purvis has heard this, but like, I think there's been an increasing rise in fascism lately.
Oh no, I
And,
agree with
like,
that. Yeah,
we kind of had a coup the last time. Like, it was one that, so like,
but
one, I just
yeah.
fundamentally disagree with the idea that like what Kanye was doing was not material. Like, I just think that that's like a misunderstanding of the situation. I understand that Soulja Boy is more, but like I disagree. And like once again, like I would say, while yes, that's true, I would say the increasing acceptance of fascist rhetoric in the culture also a major issue. And I would maybe even say a greater one. But that's me. That's my bias. Those are the things.
That's fair. I feel like the direct I'm gonna get rich quick off of scamming people has a more widespread impact on said culture than necessarily like the advent of fascism, especially when you consider that there's been a culture revolving around this fascist rhetoric for so long already. And yeah, this brings it to a new audience. But at the same time, the fact that these kind of like, oh, you can just like put your name on something and make some money is like, I think the allure of that is much higher to a lot more people. It's more of a universal issue, I think.
Yeah,
time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that my point is that I think the very recent past, and it's like I remember going to vote, armed people like standing by the door weren't supposed to be there, like
right.
Like I just patently that's fine. And
like, look, what's the lesser of two evils?
I also do 100% agree with everything you're saying. I think it is a horrific and like the insidious part of like this late stage capitalism living inside of. So, like, you'll never hear me like discredit that as a genuine threat and like a very valid criticism of this internet comedian rapper. Like
I like how
Like-
internet comedian comes
Comedian.
first.
Yeah. Right. So like 100%. Like I'm a communist. I don't agree with drop shipping scams. Like
You don't
So-
like corporations?
don't tell corporations that. Like,
But anywho, it's like the lesser of two evils. Both of them are terrible people. Let's agree with that. Moving on, we have Miley Cyrus.
yeah.
I'm sorry, there's no transition to Miley Cyrus dropping Endless Summer Vacation. I'm gonna be honest. I just have one question about Miley Cyrus, and I don't know if you guys know. Was Miley Cyrus an actual like musician or actor
Yes.
first? Actress first.
Both. I thought
Both?
it was like
Oh, it
well,
was like a dual thing.
it was a
know?
breakout because Hannah Montana, her like character
Right.
was a
Yeah.
musical character, so it was like she was multi-talented. She brought it to a show, and then if she had like her actual solo career after that, I think I don't
Okay.
know the timeline exactly.
I have no idea. I just didn't know if Hannah Montana was actually like something I could look up on Spotify, and if that came before
I'm
like.
sure you can.
Yeah.
Oh
Actually.
boy,
Sure you can.
I'm just gonna
I'll
dive
bet you
into
can.
this.
Yeah.
Deep dive Hannah Montana season 1.
I would rather crash my car.
I'll say
It absolutely comes up, but I'm glad that my Spotify gives me the song "Hannah Montana" by the Migos before it gives me the profile.
Important
I am very proud to say that.
priorities.
That's good.
Traditions.
That's good. I just don't even know why you put this on the list. Like,
Yeah, right.
Look,
what?
I liked that song that was supposed to go to Rihanna. I think
Flowers?
Rihanna. Huh?
Wait,
the
what happened?
flowers one. I can buy myself flowers. Was that one?
No,
or
it
a
was
different one?
the "Can't Stop" one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, "Can't Stop" was supposed to go to Rihanna, and I think it's a very good song, and I thought Miley did a good job. Rihanna would have been better, but like,
Wait, what's this song? Can't stop. What am I missing out on? Who got it?
Miley
Hannah Montana
Cyrus.
got a song called
Mi-
"Can't
Miley
Stop." My
Miley
Step.
Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus, you know, it's my bad.
When I look up "Can't Stop," I get Red Hot Chili Peppers.
We
That's
are
We can't
good.
stop.
We are
one.
good. Honestly, the only reason I added it because apparently this is supposed to be a really big release, and I didn't know if people
The
actually
record
listen to.
labels are pushing it hard.
Yeah, I saw it everywhere. Moving on to singles though, we have Ray Sherman. We talking about this at the beginning of the year. Finally dropping the first single, Tanisha. Pump that. I have no idea what this is about. I haven't heard anything from them in years. So I'm super excited about that. Black is still pushing out the new album. Shout out to him for having a normal album release. You rarely see that nowadays.
Yeah.
I gotta
This is
say,
yeah.
I'm really disappointed he didn't replace the B in back with the 6.
I
Come
would have
on, man. It
appreciated
was
that.
right there.
I would have
I
appreciated
want
it.
to be mad at you, but I can't.
Right.
It's valid.
It's annoying and pedantic, but you're right. Like,
It's his
It's 100%
brand.
true.
You're just
It's
It's
a
his
100%
brand.
true.
It's not my fault. I don't make the rules.
It is
You work
100%
in
true.
marketing. You know how this works.
I work in advertising. Watch your
Hey,
fucking mouth.
Hey.
Look, that's basically marketing is the business version of advertising.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, it's advertising with all the fun sucked out of it.
Right. But
Advertising with math.
right, don't you love that?
I was like, I discovered advertising because I googled like careers without math, and like
Nice.
that
And boy
was
did it work
the
out for you.
very start of my journey. Like,
It was that and living in a van down by the river.
yeah, it
Two
was
options.
that, fisherman.
Hey.
like,
I was gonna say like Firewatch person
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
like a national
Hey.
forest.
I'm not mad at it.
EMT. Like,
Fire.
It's true, it's true. Look,
Yeah,
all
I
I'm gonna
didn't know- I
say
didn't know
is
spine could bend that way.
all I'm gonna say is the only person that has something like that is Schoolboy Q with the capital H, and no one else can take that.
yeah.
Another song dropping is T.I. featuring Kevin Gates called Active, coming out this Friday.
Hell yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Hell yeah.
Dude, before the episode started, I literally texted Brandon, and I was like, I'm gonna be in the middle of two polarizing views on everything.
T.I.
This entire
is
episode
questionable.
is gonna be two polarizing ends on
T.I.
everything that we discuss.
Ti is questionable, but Kevin Gates, that guy's he can start a car battery with his hands. He's crazy. Like,
Do not believe anything you heard in the interview that this man said.
Dude, Kevin Gates, I think he's a ninja. Like, I think he's great.
Is this the man with 2 phones? That's correct, right?
Dude, you spoiled it. Like,
Goddamn.
I'm happy. I'm excited for it. Also, why the slander for T.I.? He's an Atlanta great, even though he does some questionable things lately.
He's crazy. He's also
He does not.
He is absolutely insane.
Questionable things. He's being investigated for child abuse. Like it's.
Yeah, he does.
It's a problem, and unfortunately, he is very tied into our main topic tonight. And boy, am I going to talk about that.
Yeah,
So.
he is tied into it. I have some.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna have Jaleel. This is someone Brandon I told you about recently.
Yeah,
Jaleel. High energy.
I don't go back that often.
That's okay.
Like, I have it on my playlist. Hell yeah, dude. Jaleel's cool.
Yeah, I love him. High energy, super dope guy, super nice guy. Dropping the song Gnarly.
Wild and positive. It's crazy. And like the music
you love to
just
see
hits.
it.
Yeah, the music just hits. But yeah, dude, I'm a fan of Jaleel.
Jasper, have you heard of Jaleel by chance?
I have, but I'm not familiar, like musically.
Okay, for sure. It's a couple of songs. You don't have to dive too deep. Just listen to a couple songs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! They just announced Cocaine Shark. I'm not joking. Like
what?
The sequel to the critical success Cocaine Bear. Purvis is out. It's just you and me.
Cocaine Shark. Purvis
has left the chat.
Purvis, Cocaine Shark. I have 3 years to talk about this now. I didn't even like Cocaine Bear that much. Like,
I'm glad. I am glad that you didn't get into
He's just hyping it out of spite at this point.
I just can't believe it's real. I can't believe it's real. This is what Snakes on a Plane always wanted to be.
Valid, actually. That's a decent take. I respect that.
Absolutely, we are not doing this. I didn't watch that movie either. We're not doing this.
I love Snakes on a Plane, dude.
Look, I said this off the podcast, and I meant to bring it up. Rubber is better than anything you're just naming.
Rubber's very good. Rubber's
better. Oh, the tire movie? Yeah, the tire movie.
Yeah, Rubber's like Rubber's kind of like a cop-out answer, because like it's kind of like actually good.
It's like an art film.
Yeah. It's almost like a parody of things. Anyway, yeah, no. Jaleel, Kevin Gates, I want them to make a song. Like,
that would be the most bizarre combination.
I want Kevin Gates to be Jaleel's dad. Like, I just want Jaleel's optimism and Kevin Gates' wisdom and ability to start cars.
Wisdom. The man dry humps the air in every interview and on concert literally gets on the ground and has sex with it. Would not.
He's passionate, man. Like,
I look. It was. I can't even transition into the next piece because the next thing is so sad. And like,
one's sad and one's pathetic. Like, I got jokes.
Okay,
we are shifting into comedy, Brandon.
If I could express this, or if I could say this in the most respectful way possible, moving on to the news. You know what? I'm just gonna save it last because I need to stop laughing before I say this. So, moving on to the second part of the news, we have a new verified Spotify profile that has been founded. It is called Blonde Dead, all one word, so BLONDEAD. It has been found on Spotify, and it released 3 extremely old Frank Ocean songs. Super excited for this. A lot of fans are investigating into this, saying it might be hinting at a new release coming out. He needs to put something out before Coachella. I'm pretty sure it's like in the terms. I just like need to drop music before Coachella. So yeah, super excited for that. And you can tell it's the old style of Frank. Love that. I'm here for it. Highly recommend.
You ever seen the Da Vinci Code?
I've read it.
This feels like that. Like,
Yeah, a
like,
little bit.
Do you expect anything else from Frank Ocean fans?
I love that. I love that.
We are on our knees begging for something.
They are full national treasuring Frank Ocean's entire
Every movement will be tracked.
Frank Ocean fans could probably solve the Cicada 3301 puzzle if they tried.
No,
Can solve everything.
They could prove my theory that what's his face? That Tommy Wiseau is who's the guy who robbed the plane?
The Room. The guy from The Room, Tommy Wiseau.
Oh,
yo.
That's my theory.
Oh, bye, Mark. Jumps out of plane.
Yeah, no, that's my theory. I think DB Cooper is Tommy Wiseau. I earnestly believe this.
That's insanity. Purvis, do you know the story of DB Cooper?
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Oh my god!
You said the reference of Hi Mark, and I know that.
Are we starting a new Unsolved Mysteries podcast? Because that's what it sounds like
here. This is a preview for next week.
I was literally going to say we're doing conspiracy soon. We're just tapping into it.
To everyone in the audience, who doesn't know who DB Cooper is, the YouTube channel Lemino Lemmino did an excellent video detailing what it is. How it happened, what transpired, top tier. I can't believe it's free content.
Yeah.
I literally searched, and the first thing I see is hijacking a plane, Brandon.
Yep, that's what it is.
He hijacked a plane. He jumped out of it in midair with millions of dollars in cash.
Well, it wasn't only $500,000 at the time because it was the 60s.
I don't know. I thought it was.
I think it was
where'd the cash come from?
So what happened is he hijacked an airplane on the way between Seattle and Portland or something.
Yeah, it was in the Pacific North.
And basically he had them land. He kept hostages on the plane. They brought cash to the plane and took it in. Nobody got a good look at this guy's face. He was wearing sunglasses, whatever else. And he requested parachutes with it. And basically what happened is he kept the pilots and a flight attendant on the plane altogether. And then he had the flight attendant go to the front and lock herself in the cabin front with the pilots. And this was back in the 60s when planes had the back door chutes. So to deplane, you could there was a chute in the back of the floor which would open down and there'd be stairs. So he opened that and jumped out with the money and the parachute. And they recovered some of the bills 2 years later and then another bunch 10 years later, but they never found DB Cooper, the guy who actually did it.
My favorite detail is that apparently he had an unplayed set.
Yeah.
And that's Tommy Wiseau.
So my favorite
showed out of nowhere and had enough money to independently finance a film, which
30 years later, admittedly,
30 years later.
My favorite little tidbit from that whole thing, in terms of pop culture, is that Loki was DB Cooper.
Yeah.
From the Loki show, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Anyway, that's my conspiracy theory. I think Frank Ocean fans could prove.
I'm literally just.
Purvis, welcome to my mind.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah. All right. Purvis, are you ready to move on?
Yes.
Purvis has been ready.
This is an everyday thing. We just don't bring it to the podcast. So. Rolling Loud just happened. Normally a fantastic event, a lot of great artists there, but we have another incident of 2 people dying at the Glorilla concert at the exit as they're trying to leave in a stampede. I would think after Astroworld there was enough
So I had heard
news and movement.
I don't know if this is so
okay.
Please, biggest grain of salt. I had heard that there were false reports of guns.
Interesting.
And then there was people fled because they thought there was a shooting, and that's what caused. And in that case, it's this. I feel like that I think if that's true, it becomes a freak event that
right.
That's possible for anyone to have planned for. Could have happened anywhere. Could have happened in a movie theater. So
okay, that does. Yeah, that explains a little bit more.
That's 100% true. Not take it news. But,
right. if that is the news, that
just-
would give it a little bit more of an explanation or more details on the situation. But
Yeah.
at least as of about a couple hours ago, the third person is confirmed dead from the concert from the Stampede. It
It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it's absolutely a tragedy, and it makes me think because we are going to be discussing Travis Scott. Obviously, you've seen the name of the podcast. You would think after Astroworld that was enough to reconstruct how concerts are made.
Yeah, and I think
There's certain,
and I think like they're overdue. Like I think,
exactly.
I think a lot of aspects of society are overdue for rethinking. Evolution now.
Circling back to that.
But I think concerts, like especially post-pandemic, like I think how we do concerts, where we have them,
Right.
needs to be rethought. Like I think, like obviously, like they want it to be the fundamental concerts,
Hmm.
but like gotta be something. You know, this one
Absolutely.
seems like, and like this one just seems so free. Like that's the only that
Hmm.
just happened. Logical and like
I agree, and it could just be as simple as reconstructing how you navigate traffic within the crowds,
yeah.
navigating the audience in terms of
And it's not going to
how
be
many can
all,
attend.
and it's not going to be all structural, personal, cultural.
Right, and it's something that needs to be implemented. I think as soon as possible, just because. As I am the one that is typically all for capitalism, not actually all for capitalism, but the business person pushing money. Yeah, there needs to be a change. I don't care how much
Yeah,
money that they want to make from people buying tickets, regardless of these industries that are running concerts. I don't know if this is Rock Nation again or whoever. Not Rock Nation, but
there's only
Live
like
Nation.
Live Nation. Jesus Christ, two different things. I don't know if this is Live Nation or not, but there needs to be something, just industry wide.
Almost certainly one. There's only like two companies. That doesn't help.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster are actually the same company.
Yeah, they are.
Right.
One's like
It's
the
it's a
venues,
monopoly.
Yeah, it's a complete monopoly. It's
Of
that
all
at
the monopolies that's been stopped, how in the world does this exist?
Because it has to do with a luxury good. It's not for an essential good.
Even still, like there's other things.
and
Like
also
No,
some,
there
I
are.
won't
but
dive into
it's
that, but
also
yeah,
like-
you know what I mean.
It's also an incredibly profitable industry. And
Yeah.
that have a lot of profit, have a lot of money that lawmakers,
Oh yeah, for sure.
and it's just like
Yeah,
That's
that's
how-
true. I mean, U.S. courts have a history of prioritizing antitrust legislation against things that are either strategic in terms of citizen utility or in terms of military utility, far and away over media. I mean, look
Sure.
at mergers associated. It's looking like the Activision Blizzard merger is going to go ahead, for example.
Yeah, most likely.
sure.
The
So-
Sprint and T-Mobile one just happened.
Yeah. So media is differently scrutinized because it's of secondary importance to like the American court system, pretty much.
Yeah, I just think that's
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's just
like-
unfortunately it's the way
yeah,
it is.
because like things are massive pillars of the economy. Like
Yeah, and of culture
Yeah,
too, and that's
and-
something that people deny pretty often.
yeah, I mean 100%. Like it's also a cultural artifact. Like that is absolutely the conversation I wish I could be having. Like, but like they're also just like, especially when you bring up the Activision Blizzard one. Like, no, this is gonna fuck over. Like, this is gonna like really like major cities that like have like amount of Activision. Like,
No idea.
and it's
Just
like
gonna assume California.
You know, like, entire communities are not gonna are gonna get laid off, and how are we gonna deal with it? So, I do think this is important, but I agree that it's like less important than healthcare.
Yeah.
That is fair.
And-
Putting
and
it in that, yeah.
The government agrees it's less important than defense spending, which is why, we've got so many cases of like mergers between military and defense contractors being stopped. But
I want more bombs.
We know.
We spend so much money. We should cut the military in half. Like, it is insane how much.
More than half.
Okay,
But
hell
anywho.
yeah, Comrade Purvis. Like,
We're gonna go
We're not
real
gonna dive into politics.
No, I want a quick 5 minutes of poli sci. Did you see the whole thing that Putin did like last week?
no. Like,
He
Entertaining.
basically I forget exactly what the agreement is called. It's not SALT because that was the one that took place during like the like the Carter administration. But basically he pulled out of maybe it's like START or something. It's one of these strategic arms reductions treaties for nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And I don't think he realized that the point of that more so was to basically allow the US to better police itself in terms of nuclear arsenal, considering how much bigger the US's nuclear arsenal is than the rest of the world. But Putin basically pulled out of this as a way of saying, fuck you, United States, not realizing that it basically removes the cap. Like if we don't follow it, it removes a cap that we had where we have no upper limit like Russia does. So I saw like all these replies to an article about this. And someone was like, laughs an $800 billion defense budget. And I was like, yeah, man, like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this is not going to end well for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, Putin has brain cancer, I think.
Yeah, or something terminal
He's
or
also,
whatever
like,
else.
Awful monster.
Yeah.
My
But he's just willing to go that
Yeah.
scorched earth. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I am not an expert on geopolitics. I know probably Purvis, but like
Purvis's face.
I'm not.
Purvis is
give
agreeing
up.
right
I'm
now.
not-
I don't give up.
I am not an expert in geopolitics. I might consider myself like a amateur, but
You're involved with
yeah.
What do you mean amateur?
Well, expert.
Oh, I guess.
So like, yeah, and yeah, that sounds like Putin.
It does sound like
Giant
Putin.
brain tumor. I sure hope we survive this. It's why I think I don't
You
know.
said revolution. This is what we
Revolution
must
now.
do.
Revolution now.
These are the terms. Atomic war.
Yeah.
But anywho,
Oh my god. All right.
we're all gonna die eventually.
You got that right, buddy.
That comes for us all.
Darkness envelops me.
I was gonna.
Touch darkness, and darkness touches you back.
And on that note, Owl Pharaoh.
Changes a man.
I was gonna say something like that to my parents the other day, and I realized like I can't even joke about that with like an older generation.
Yeah, no, you can't. Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I was like, I didn't ask to be here, and I looked at them, and I was like, they'll kill me if I say this.
Yeah.
Be like, why you got me paying taxes, huh? What the fuck
You
is that
made
about?
this happen. This is your fault.
I remember one time during it was in October 2020. I had just gotten my job at FC, and I was able to see my father during the. I haven't seen him. We're sitting there, we're watching Trump's speech. I looked at him and I'm like, couldn't have just keep going to Canada? I had to do this.
Yeah.
Like,
You settled here.
And he's like,
this was entertaining to you.
and he looked me dead in the eyes. He's like, you might want to go, man. Like, he's like, I've done it. You might want to. Like,
I've been in Canada. It was great.
Yeah.
I have no complaints.
yeah,
Look, it's my plan B if all else fails.
I'm gonna go to South America.
Oh.
No.
I think you'll find a lot of Kanye enthusiasts down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Oh, I meant like Central America. Not,
Okay.
Okay.
Even
fair
though,
enough.
like, friend of the show and guy helping us on the Rafa, he's in Brazil, and I am gonna go.
Oh, that's dope.
But yeah, no. Anyway,
That trip's probably going to cost like $1 brazilian.
All right.
We got to move on. It's become completely unhinged. There's no order to this.
I think my
podcast.
favorite part about this is that like we have not like we're at 45. Like this is very normal length
For news.
To
be fair,
this is probably going to be a normal length episode.
Yes,
Like,
because
yeah.
we're already at the topic.
This is,
to be fair,
this is a very dense with insanity. Like,
Yes. Interspersed.
yeah.
It was very much overdue. I feel like it was coming.
All right.
It's a cozy podcast. I'm cozy, so I'm good.
You're cozy. Like Owl Pharaoh.
Yes.
Jasper, introduce this talking dive. Debut.
It's your pick.
Yeah.
It is my pick.
It's
Yeah.
the debut
So
mixtape of one Sir Travis.
yes, indeed. Owl Pharaoh is the 2013 debut release for the boy. At the time of recording, this is my favorite mixtape, personally. Now,
Of all time?
as of right now, yeah, it's just it's the only mixtape I've been coming back to, like, for, I don't know now, 5 years. It's definitely the longest running in my rotation in terms of regular play. And there's a whole lot of factors that contribute to it that we're going to get into, but this is like coming right off of Travis having produced and featured on some really, really big projects. So he had worked with Kanye on Yeezus on a couple of tracks, specifically Guilt Trip. And then he was also featured on I believe it was Crown on Magna Carta Holy Grail, the Jay-Z album in 2013. So he's got some high profile collaborations up to this point. He's got his name out there as a producer, and this is his freshman project. And there's a lot right with it. There's plenty wrong with it, but it's in my view, it's a rich, kind of big, expansive project for a first effort, and it's one that, I think is definitely worth a deep dive.
Okay. But is this your first Travis album that you found or listened to?
No. So I got into Travis around the Astroworld release in terms of like actually listening. Like I knew all of his hits prior, but in terms of actually listening to his albums like back to back to back, it was like 2018 was like when I started. This was one that I just gravitated toward. I mean, I liked this one better than Days Before. I'd say it's up as far as like, with his other projects. I put this one pretty high up there just because it doesn't sound like the others. It feels like a unique kind of time capsule in a way. But that's just my take on it.
Okay. Bet. I didn't think I was the person that was listening to Travis the longest.
Well, maybe. Where did you get into it?
No, well, I mean, I've been listening for longer, but not like as a casual listener, not as like a deep dive.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, like I've been listening to Travis probably since like 2016, 15 or 16. I think it was like when I started college, when I started like actually knowing who he was.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was like when Rodeo came out, because Rodeo was really big, so I knew all the hits off of that.
Yeah, that's when I got into it. Like I liked Rodeo a lot. I bounced off Bird, and you forced him down my throat.
I literally forced him, and you loved it after a while.
It hit and I revisit Rodeo a lot. My opinion has evolved on Birds, and we can get into that. But still not the biggest fan. So, but like, I have distinct memories in 2015.
Yeah.
So like I've been following him for a while, but like I definitely didn't hear about him during the.
I mean, yeah, I was 2013. I was like a sophomore in high school when this came out, so it was a little before my time. Yeah.
2013.
I think I was a sophomore. I might have been a junior.
You sure?
Yeah,
aren't you younger than me?
By a year. Yeah, I graduated in 2015.
I graduated 2015.
Well, you're like a year older, but not actually. Like
you're in the same grade, but
okay, but because your birthday is in
September.
Oh, okay. We never actually talked about. Okay, we never talked about graduation days. I thought I was like a full year or something.
No,
I'm on the same terms. I was gonna say because I'm pretty sure I was a sophomore.
I think it's June. I think it's sophomore junior year because 2012. The start of 2012 was sophomore year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's fair to say, as someone who was able to on a college campus, Rodeo came out like I probably had a bit of a different experience with it.
There's definitely a different experience there, a different interpretation.
But I enjoyed it, and I enjoy it now. Like I think I've revisited Rodeo.
I listened to it 40 minutes before coming on this show.
Yeah, so Uh, yeah, Purvis, what do you think about Owl?
I will say my introduction to Travis in terms of like deep dives and like me personally going into it was Birds in the Trap, which is why I hold it to such a high standard. I don't think it's his best. I won't go as far as to say that, but
No,
that's why
yeah.
I genuinely enjoy it. Um, I think personally, and at least what I've heard from the industry slash culture, Rodeo is considered a classic
Yeah.
and considered his best.
Yeah, I would say
And rightfully so.
I
Right.
think I think Astro World has a reasonable. I definitely think
Right,
there's a
right,
reasonable debate, but I certainly fall on that.
right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm okay with that, honestly. I think both projects are great in their own right. But I will say, starting off with Birds allows me to look at Rodeo in a sense where, like, don't get me wrong, I think it is a classic, but I think a lot of times people mix in personal opinions to call something a classic, which is okay. But
That's all it
sometimes it can
is,
give,
really. It's
right,
all an opinion.
right. And sometimes it can give a blinded view because we've talked about it. Sometimes classics have to be
That's
approved by everyone in a
yes.
sense. You have to,
Dissected,
It's a
yeah.
right,
cultural thing, right? Like,
Validated.
exactly.
if
You have to say it, and not a lot of people would be like, "You're crazy."
yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like if everyone disagrees with you that an album is a
Right.
classic,
It may not be a classic, right? So with that being said, working myself backwards, I listened to Rodeo, fantastic album. I listened to Days Before Rodeo, fantastic album, not as good, but you
Mixtape.
see the structure, mixtape, absolutely mixtape, but you see the structures of Rodeo coming into effect. It's not enough of a disconnect where like I felt like it was entirely different person or a different skill level that he's at in that time. Then I go back to Owl Pharaoh. I appreciate Owl Pharaoh for what it is because I do look at it as just a mixtape. But I can tell this is a very different Travis Scott than what I was accustomed to. When I found Travis Scott, I find a more finely polished, experienced artist. I feel like when I found Owl Pharaoh, I appreciate the highs for what they are, and I realize the flaws a lot. It's a lot more clear on this project, which is okay. It's his first, you know, self project that he put out. It has a lot of good hits on it, but it also doesn't carry a lot of weight in my personal opinion. But like, I guess we can kind of get into that, or we can. I feel like the first thing to kind of touch or glance over is like what's done right
well,
on the
I
album.
haven't given my.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so I had never heard Owl Pharaoh. I had heard
Correct.
Days Before Rodeo, like around Rodeo, and I remember liking it, but not. So, because like Travis has just never been like that guy for me, you know. 'Cause I think like his sound is very singular and it prioritizes the. It doesn't prioritize the thing. Um, but so this is my first time listening to Owl Pharaoh this week. I kind of thought it was pretty boring. Like I thought it was pretty mediocre and boring. Now, like I think there's a lot of context. 10 years old, right? I think there's a lot of different contexts that you talk about it, right? And like in the context of like a stepping stone for the 10-year pattern of track. I think there's
Mhm.
some things to appreciate. Like it genuinely, I think it's undeniable that like he brought an innovative sound, like innovative sound. Beyond that, I really thought it was a very mediocre. Have to be. I listened to the mixtape 3-4 times this week. I really walk away.
Mm-hmm.
It was. This is not the worst album I've had to talk about for this show project, uh, but it was the hard. Just because I feel
Interesting.
like it was very one trick pony. A lot of stuff that I think the stuff that's not executed very well is a little plentiful. But let's get into it. Like, what do we all think is well, and what's
I just want to say it's interesting. I think the way you described that is exactly how I feel about Days Before, which we've talked about prior in terms of like the dip that it experiences later on in the track listing. But yeah, that's just like an interesting kind of parallel.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not as familiar with Days Before. I probably will be listening to it again because on a Travis Scott kick.
You're in.
I mean,
You're in it.
Welcome.
Like
Welcome.
I always liked the dude, you know, and like,
Of course.
this is not the worst debut mixtape of an artist I like.
No.
But it, you know, I do think like I'm trying my hardest to like critical look at it for like separate
Right.
it from its. I feel like it is almost disrespectful to in that way, at least. From that perspective, it's like.
I think what's done well on this project, in my personal opinion, and what I'm able to take away from Owl Pharaoh, it's something that we kind of glanced over last week, and obviously Don Toliver is a byproduct of someone like Travis Scott. In terms of they are able to set the mood and set a certain type of tone that carries throughout the album. And I think Travis Scott, what he does extremely well within this album that has carried over, and I'm thankful that it carried over through the rest of his career, is creating the raging but also spacey-like atmosphere. Obviously, one of his main influencers is Kid Cudi. It's very obvious. They both share the Rager tattoo, and I think he does capitalize on that successfully. And you do have certain pieces that expand it out to the more spacey feel where, and I know this might sound stupid coming out of my, like saying it, but like for smokers, it gives you a certain atmosphere that's kind of pleasant. It really is.
Yeah, no, when you create your brain, like kind of sounds, like you just start on certain things, like you start hearing.
Right.
Everything sounds like. There's
Exactly.
a reason why they call that sound psychedelic. Like,
which he is kind of the king of. He's a
Yeah.
psychedelic hip hop artist. When you think of that term and you think of transferring people over from other genres of psychedelic rock or whatever that might be, this is kind of the person, or A$AP Rocky, these are the people you
Yeah.
would show them to.
I agree with that. I just think like it's not undebatable. That's all.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
That's what I personally would take out of it. Because, and I kind of talked about this recently, and I know I didn't really talk about it too much, but the song Embarrassed that came on the deluxe, Embarrassed reminded me of an older Travis Scott spacey feel, where you think of Maria, I'm Drunk, or you think of, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the song on, Drugs You Should Try.
Yeah.
Like, those are classic
Yeah.
Travis Scott songs where, like, only, and I don't want to say this in like a gatekeeping way, but like you have to be a Travis Scott fan. You have to appreciate Travis Scott on a certain level to really understand what those songs mean, because they're different from the rest of his discography.
Yeah.
And I think certain songs, Bad Mood captures that very well. Hell of a Night
Yes.
captures that very well. Dance on the Moon
Yes.
captures that very well.
Drive.
Drive captures that very well. Like those are like optimal. If I want to listen to quote unquote old Travis, which I know we never talked about an old and a new Travis, but if we were to break it down,
Well,
those
yeah,
are the songs I want to listen
Even
to.
modern artists go through phases.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and this definitely does feel huge from the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Those are my positive takeaways,
Yeah.
personally.
yeah.
so
I mean, I would say.
Yeah.
I think like just like when it does hit, like you can see like it's
Where
almost like
it's
you're seeing
going.
the future, right? You
Yeah,
see,
and that's
like, you know,
that is a point that I wanted to make
Yes,
tonight.
right.
Okay.
I told Purvis about this already. but
However,
yeah.
like I think, in my opinion, I think there's only 2 songs on this album that get there. You know, like the Dance on the Moon. That's probably my favorite song.
Good song. It's a great song.
And that's like the only song where you hear the Kid Cudi influence, and I feel like For me, at least.
I
Well,
think 16 Chapels has
okay,
it.
16
They both
Chapels.
do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like when you say like, oh, he took the Kid Cudi like sound and blew it out into yeah, right? Like that's true, right? Because
He did it well.
yeah, no, if there's one thing I have to give him credit for is just having a cool, new, innovative sound, right?
Yes.
I think he runs it into the ground, and I writing at this point. Um, but like where Dance on the Moon and
Oh yeah,
Quintana.
you like Quintana?
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Like I
Okay.
think like on those two songs, it's like oh you can like you can see it all coming together. You know,
I just smoked my dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is that like I think even with those sonic innovations, I think like some songs where the lackluster story, not story, lackluster song, like,
Bad Mood.
Bad Mood. You didn't like Bad Mood.
I thought it was, oh, Upper Echelon. That's another one.
Okay.
Banger.
Upper Echelon, and like I liked Blocka La Flame.
Okay.
But
well, Jasper, as the positive person, I think you like this album more than the rest of us. You kind of touched on it briefly in person, and you just brought it up there. So you were saying, at least when we were talking at work, we were comparing it to other mixtapes, what we will get to eventually. You were saying this was the future sound of kind of where hip hop was going. So kind of expand on that.
Right. I mean, I had the benefit of hindsight listening to this. I didn't listen to it when it came out, but when I picked this up and it sounded so different from the more kind of like uniform. So here's what I'll say, right? So the first Days Before, Rodeo, Birds, and even Astroworld to some extent, less so, all feel like in some way there's iteration happening where certain, not necessarily just in terms of songwriting, but in terms of the sonic components that make up a Travis Scott song and eventually comprise his sound. It feels like they get carried forward and tweaked and modified just a little bit more, whether it's for maximum audience engagement to just absolutely slam at a show, whatever it is. It feels like there are like certain details and elements that are carried forward in that way. And I think going back and having listened to Owl Pharaoh, it gave me the context for like where it felt like everything came from in a sense, and like how it would slowly shape the sound that became this like smash hit when he really finally broke through the mainstream, whether it was in 2015 or again in 2018, when Astroworld came out and dominated, pop culture for the next 2 years. But it's just one of those things where it felt like, having listened to it, it felt like this kind of pivotal moment at the time with the benefit of hindsight. Also, just like a lot of the things that he expresses on this project, even if it's not done in the best way in terms of songwriting, in terms of the atmosphere that he builds, is very different from other projects. I think it's most like Birds in that way, more than any other in terms of the atmosphere that it sets. It's very dark, it's brooding, it's intense, at least at the start. And then as you get further into it, you start having tracks that are a little softer and kind of open up on other concepts or ideas that he's like toying with, but he's not articulating yet in the way that he will later in his career. So I think it's like really interesting to see the beginnings of things, and like the wheels are starting to turn. Not everything is there, but he's putting together this like soundscape, basically, in a sense that forecasts where he's going musically for the rest of his projects up until this point. That's how I saw it.
Yeah. Do you think, and this is something that I had to ask myself, if I'm being honest, because at least prior to you joining, I was the Travis Scott fan. Like, I'm the one that put Brandon on, and I still am.
No one's taken that title away from you, right. I guess.
It's one thing that I have to challenge, because Brandon has mentioned this months ago. You don't really listen to Travis Scott for the lyrics necessarily. He's not a lyrical artist. We're going to talk about that as well. He's not necessarily a lyrical person in a sense of when you think of hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
hip hop is about the lyrics, traditionally at least. You know,
Yeah.
now I'm not saying Travis Scott don't have lyrics. I love Travis Scott music. I love his lyrics. I know his lyrics by heart.
Yeah.
But when you think of the greats and things like that, it's obviously more lyrical people. You might think of J. Cole, Kendrick, Jay-Z, more recent people that I'm trying to name.
Sure.
What you mentioned that this was the build up, he wasn't able to necessarily articulate some of the concepts
Mm-hmm.
that you see later.
Yeah.
What kind of do you call this a concept album? Do you call it a theme album? And like what was he telling, I guess, to
I
you?
think I think there are hints of concept album here, but they don't come together. Like,
Okay.
What do you think those are?
so I'll say that the beginnings, the frustrations with his parents on Bad Mood and things like that, and then going into Uptown and then also Drive, like the ideas of being like an angry, rebellious kid who also is like getting a taste of freedom. That parallels directly to rodeo. That's what rodeo is about, in a sense, is like finding yourself as a young person who doesn't yet have direction.
Uh,
So I think that there's like different parallels between different parts of this mixtape with other projects in his career. Musically, I think it is more reflective of Birds in some ways, and then thematically, I think it's more reflective of rodeo. But it's just one of these things where it's like I was saying, it feels like he's got all these puzzle pieces and he's put them together in a way that may not be the right way, but he's done it in a way that still manages to evoke a reaction from a listener, whether it's positive, negative. For me, it was a positive thing. I really like the sound on this album. On most of the tracks, I think like the direction they take in terms of, at least musically, there's something I really do appreciate. But it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I'm curious, if you guys think there's anything of merit in terms of his his songwriting and carrying it forward, like I mentioned.
oh.
I know because here's the thing.
Well,
Brandon and I talked about this months ago. Brandon does not think Travis Scott is lyrical.
First off,
Really,
okay.
yeah.
First, I just.
Well, I mean,
want-
compared to a Kendrick, no, of course not.
I think
but...
compared to
even
say,
more than that,
Mac
yeah.
Miller or a Childish Gambino, like I.
No,
think-
I mean, yeah, but they're totally different.
Yeah, but the pin I want to pull out first up top.
Okay.
Is when I said songwriting, I specifically said that and not lyrics because I'm not talking about lyrics. I'm talking about putting the music together in like a compelling verse and having structure and like being able to put this all together in a way that holds your attention, right? It's not lyrical at all. It's like composition, right? And I don't think that really comes. I think like a lot of the sounds and the sonics are, and like it sounds very cool. And like obviously there are exceptions. Our songs, right? And that another thing is I think like his songwriting is a great strength. Like, that is in Rodeo, Astro World.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is I think those albums also have great sequencing.
Yes,
very
good.
pacing.
This is a
Yeah,
mixtape though, so I do feel like as critical as I am being of this, I feel
it
like
is right. It's a mixtape.
I don't feel like you can critique a mixtape sequence that much. So I'm gonna give that. I didn't even. So like when I was talking about songwriting, I'm not talking about.
Okay.
Because like I just think Jasper called like those themes what those lyrics are about. I would call them and like when you connect it to rodeo, I'm like, okay, rodeo, I see how that's like the thing of it and exploring it in. This one to me, it sounds more like indulging in, because the idea of being a rebellious teenager, that is kind of like the most cliche, like
no, I agree.
American, not sad song you can write. Like
but I think, yeah.
So, and I don't think he does anything with it, song wise, and especially not lyrically, to make it anything more than that's like my big thing. But like once again, like I think he's gotten much better with lyrics. I want to make like that was just something I didn't go into this expecting that.
Given
that
the way you described it,
that was something where it was like I'm not expecting great. So to
Right.
be honest, it's not something I was disappointed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
given the way you described it, I guess maybe rebellious isn't the word I was looking for. Just like feeling those like intense, like angry emotions in a way, and like then whether it's kind of taking a step back and being a little bit more focused on, you know, whether it's relationships with another person or just like the context of like where you are in life and like not having direction seems like one of the themes that's more taken out. So it's like having all of these emotions and not being able to direct them in a productive way. And I think that's kind of like I think that is not only part of like not a message, but like something I take away from the project, but also I feel like that's where he was creatively at this point too, where he's like he has all these ideas and all these sounds overflowing out of him, and he doesn't have a way to engage with them in a way that's producing something that is truly of that caliber yet. So it's like I don't know, there's just like an interesting parallel for me there in terms of like internal versus external and like how it impacts how this
Mhm.
project was made and then later projects as well.
I think comparing it to later projects, he does do it more efficiently
Hmm.
and a better way to actually tell the story in
Yeah,
later projects.
for
I
sure.
feel like in terms of, and again, you do have to look at it in the scope of it's a mixtape.
Yeah, that's the other
So
thing.
like
Yeah,
you
like
can't be too critical of it. I think
I mean,
within
I think there
this,
are things you can be.
yeah, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
sonically, I think even though I
But
just said I wasn't focusing on lyrics, I think lyrics typically is something you can judge a mixtape off of. But like some things, like budget and sequencing, yeah, you absolutely.
right. And so that's what I was kind of gonna talk about because even looking at it as a mixtape, or regardless, whatever kind of project you want to look at it, the thing is with Travis, he's so almost I don't want to say disconnected, but he falls underneath a branch of hip hop or a subgenre of hip hop that is so disconnected from what you think of with traditional hip
Yes,
hop.
totally.
And so with that being said, you just when you approach his music, if you took that message away from it, I think that is a feeling that he is able to create through the type of music and the energy that he brings, and much less him actually telling a story. I I couldn't call this project a concept album because I
No, it's
don't
not.
think he's able to portray that concept in a form of actually giving that story. But I do think he's able to create an atmosphere where you
Yes.
can
Yeah,
sit down as a 14-year-old, not 14-year-old, but as a teenager, frustrated with the world.
Yeah.
Um,
As a 20-something-year-old college student, when I started listening to this, I still resonated with some of those feelings just because I was at a point where I felt personally like I was like approaching the end of my college career and life was just weird. I had this weird internship that I didn't know if it was going to result in a real job and I felt stuck. And I feel
mhm.
like a lot of those feelings kind of resonate with the project. And that was just like something that spoke to me. But before we do dig a little deeper in terms of our critical reception, would you both mind if I read you a review of or like what was said about this when it came out in 2013?
Sure.
Owl Pharaoh was met with critical acclaim from music critics. Ralph Bristow of Double XL gave the album an XL 4 stars, saying, while he's still finding himself lyrically, his work behind the boards and eagerness to try new things keeps this from becoming problematic. Perhaps Owl Pharaoh's sole drawback is that it still doesn't seem quite to answer the question, who exactly is Travis Scott? Luckily for him, this incredibly cohesive debut is so mesmerizing that everyone should want to find out. And
It,
I think that's valid in that it raises questions. Who is this guy? He makes cool music in terms of like the way it sounds, and it's not like anything else on the market right now. What's he gonna do next? And I think that's where it kind of like cements him as like creates public intrigue. It's like mysterious in a sense, almost.
yeah, yeah, and like maybe,
I think we
like
have the benefit of hindsight.
yeah, I
I
think that's a
agree.
better.
No,
I think.
Personally,
100%
yeah.
Well, to be fair, that guy's saying that at the moment.
in
At the
2013.
time,
Yeah.
yeah, he said it at the
And
time.
it's so
I
funny
just
'cause,
think
like,
us in the
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah, because like I didn't listen to it until this, and it's
Yeah.
like
right?
I go back and I'm like, oh, this is Travis. Like to
So
me, like I think this is great. Like, oh, but this is who the guy is. The
yeah,
question just becomes like, how can he be better? Like,
yeah.
and like the answer was obviously
Yes.
Like
Right.
that's the thing. Like the answer was just obviously. So like yeah, like once again, I think this is a mixtape that you put it in the context of like someone you first mixtape. Yeah, I think it like that. Like I respect it. And I respect it as a friend. But the thing is that I view all of this as kind of like how I approach any project that I just think like when you do that, and like part of my process for like art, try to cut it off. I try to see how it stands. Me, I think like that's when it because like this is clearly a very influential. Like there's no doubt that this was more influential sound of hip hop than much better came out alongside it. So, but yeah. And the other thing is like when you say intrigue, I wonder if like my barometer for because like I was around zero House of Balloons, I think was all time, and like the intrigue around that was like next level. like I remember Anthony Fantano when he thought they were like So like I wonder if
that makes sense. One more thing I do want to read here is from Spin Magazine. Spin ranked Owl Pharaoh at number 21 on their list of 40 best hip-hop albums of 2013 and commented saying, sneering attitude dripped through muffled autotune and dark streaks of Uptown and Bad Mood and Shit on You are a very distinct brand of dark and twisted, but certainly not a fantasy. Which I think is a nice cut, given like the influence associated with Kanye and Cudi at the time.
That was definitely an influence that I kind of wanted to get to because I can see here that the most popular song on here, Hell of a Night. Yeah. And like, look, it's not an awful song by stretch. I was just like, this feels like a cover. Like,
but Brandon, he left his girl in the South and put the gold in his mouth.
Like it's not. Once again, like I'm not saying it's like it's a cut above the rest. But
top 20 hip hop album 2013.
They gave it 21 out of 40.
I need to see the rest of
for Spin Magazine. I mean, 40 albums? That's a lot of albums.
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
That is a lot of albums.
Yeah, like I don't necessarily like this. That's just not immediate.
No. Yeah, I mean it's
as not into this album as like the one I saw was the Double XL when they did. They had this in 5th. I was like,
I'm personally offended.
Heresy. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm curious, and I'm just gonna jump right into it because we've kind of talked about the track list. We've talked about what's good and bad about it. Mm-hmm. You said this was better than Days Before Rodeo, and you said this was the best mixtape you've heard.
No, I won't go that far. I'll say this is my favorite mixtape right now because it's the only one that's managed to keep my attention for this long. I've been listening to this mixtape for 5 years on repeat, pretty much. I listened to everything Chance. None of it held my attention for that length of time. So strictly from like a tastes perspective, maybe it's because my tastes are a little more cemented as I've gotten older, but it's also just the fact that I think this sound resonates a bit with me more than other things I've listened to that are, of the mixtape variety. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where for me, it holds that place, and I can't, unfortunately, evaluate it without the benefit of hindsight. But just what it means musically in that context, I think, is important. So that's part of why I really resonate with it.
I think context is important too. 2013 was a big mixtape year.
2013 was a lot of albums. Yeah. That's why I was like, top 20 is tough. It's tough. It was a tough year, and that's not even a shot at Travis because it's his first project.
I mean, 2013
had a lot of
was also
lot of
Jesus,
albums.
and Magna Carta and like I don't even.
But
I'd have to
his
go and look.
influence or his input is on 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah.
No,
That's still
I'm not saying that to like say Travis should be higher. I'm saying that like
Oh.
there's real competition that
like
year.
there was because of the internet. There
Jesus
was Born
is one of my
Sinner,
favorite albums
Magna
of all time.
Carta.
Yeah.
There is Induce It. Like
Yeah.
there is a lot.
I forgot because the internet was 2013.
There was a lot. There was Danny
Yeah.
Brown. There was Run the Jewels. There was
It's
there
a
was
stacked
Doris.
year.
It was a stack. That's why
There
when
was
I
the
heard
heist,
2013,
guys. The heist.
nothing was the same. Like
I'll put
it's
this-
just a lot.
I'll
It's a
put this
lot.
above the heist.
I'm kidding.
would
I
be
think the
on there.
heist was technically
The
2012.
heist.
Uh,
It's a lot for that year. It was a lot.
It's a stacked year, and the fact that it stood out and made noise, I think, is a testament in and of itself. Just because the fact that people picked up on who he was out of this. You know, I think that's an achievement.
my only thing is like, I don't want to gaslight ourselves about the past, because I was like around and like very actively listening a lot in 20, and like I don't remember any. Now, granted, there was kind of a ground zero. 2013 was kind of a ground zero,
A lot of people.
especially
Right.
here with Acid Rap. Like that album, like I don't even know if it's my favorite project from that year. I think that's probably because of that. But like that mixtape just had like such a stranglehold on like every, right?
So,
I'll say everybody
I think-
was talking about Acid Rap.
Yeah,
I
and it's
think
just
this
like-
is a super regional thing, and I'll tell you why. Because Travis moved from Houston to LA and started his career in LA, right?
Yeah.
So I think that this was like a big West Coast thing,
Yeah.
whereas like Chicago had the chance effect at the time. I think that's kind of like where the disconnect is.
Yeah,
I'll say-
yeah, like that's definitely true. Like I definitely had like a more impactful at the time.
Yeah.
But like
I'll say he's from here.
yeah, obviously. But like, I was hearing about a lot of acts. I wasn't listening. I remember hearing about Danny Brown and Run all the time, but I did not listen.
Right.
I'll say this, and I did construct this list, and I'm just curious if you've listened to it or not, because we're talking about mixtapes around that era and how it's true. Owl Pharaoh did not get as much recognition as you would think, considering the Travis that we know now.
Yeah.
Travis Scott is a top tier artist.
Yeah.
He would be considered a scale artist. He's a headliner.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the competition that he was having entering the market, I think it's important to look at other mixtapes. So I did research and I looked up about 6 different lists. I did a simple top hip hop mixtapes albums. Like, and I just did a simple list of what came up the most.
This is the part where we're actually going to fight. It's going to be great.
So all I want to know,
Here we go.
there's
Here we
there's
go.
3
Can't even say
answers.
it.
Look, there's 3 answers. It's gonna be yes, no, or just haven't listened. Okay. Acid Rap.
Wait.
Yes or no?
What is the
Yes,
yes or no
better,
in
no,
the
it's
context
Is the
of?
Acid Rap better?
Yes.
Okay, Jasper.
It's fuck.
It's
I mean,
okay if it's no. It honestly, it's okay. It's
Is
opinionated.
it?
well, but I'll say no, but there's a reason for it, and I think
Okay.
it's because I don't think you can directly compare these two, even though they came out in the same year. This is Travis's freshman attempt. I think you should compare this more to 10 Day.
And
If anything.
I actually completely agree with that take. And I also think that this mixtape is not in the same ballpark league. Like,
What I'll say this: I took
Yeah.
his competition
yeah, that's
in that
fair.
year.
That's fair.
Right.
So
like-
that's
I
what
mean,
you gotta like. That's what you gotta look at. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
But
I do
even
think
so,
it's a
they're
more
such
fair-
different subgenres, like in terms of like the spaces they inhabit musically. It's
I
just
agree.
tough.
Yeah, but I think at that point, I think in 2013, I think like there
Hip hop was
still
so
more of a-
open. You're going to know everything. You
Yeah,
have
it
to listen to
wasn't
all
as, like,
subgenres.
it was, exponentially less subgenreified as it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, now that was just one. I put 15. We're gonna go through them. Back from the Dead, Chief Keef. Yes, better. No, not better. Have you listened?
Haven't listened.
Yes. Haven't listened. Okay.
I think I know exactly how this is going to go. Brandon is going to say yes to most of them, and I'm going to say haven't listened to most of them, and that'll be it.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, even if that's true, that it's something to consider.
Yeah.
I can think of like a couple of debut mixtapes that I would say.
I'm sure. Well,
I'm just
specifically
saying-
from this year, though.
Yeah.
I've said 2 out of 15. It's within like
Keep going.
it's
go.
within
Come
like
on.
the next 2 or 3 years. 1999, Joey Badass.
No.
Haven't listened.
No. Yeah, it's
No, and-
Joey Badass so much better. Holy shit.
Okay.
Not even a question.
Okay. Haven't listened. Beast Mode Future.
Haven't listened.
Haven't listened.
Okay. Kids Mac Miller.
Oh, fuck. I don't remember it well enough to make a judgment here,
Yes.
but I listened to this one.
No. Kids is
You
better.
have to give me an answer.
Kids is better. Kids is better, but
But
some of that early Mac Miller stuff hasn't aged.
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Now, I think Kids for the most part has aged better than the mixtape that came after it.
Look, I'm just doing the
So,
top
like,
mixtapes.
yes, I say Kids is better, but that one's close. That one's close.
Fair.
Gotta be
That's
honest.
fair.
Like,
Jasper,
I'm
do
gonna
you
say-
remember Kids as well enough to be like,
as the hater of this, nothing on this has aged as poorly as like that senior Skip Day song on.
it's terrible?
Yeah, you
It's
know what I mean?
really
Like,
fuck. I know Mac Miller's like Mr. Lyrical, so like I'm positive that outweighs it if I could remember anything off this fucking project. But I do not resonate with Mac Miller's musical taste as much. So especially the
Okay.
early
I mean,
shit
like,
up until
that
Blue
is-
Slide Park. So
this is
for me, it's like the musically, Owl Pharaoh's better, yes,
Yeah,
but
Okay.
not lyrically.
that is not.
Okay.
I do not think that's an objectionable take at all.
Yeah,
Gotta be
that's
honest.
totally fine.
Like, I
Look,
don't-
there's no right or wrong answer.
No, I know. I'm just like I'm trying
Sometimes-
to contextualize it and also make it look like to the audience out there. I promise you, I'm not fucking music illiterate. There's a reason they have me on this podcast, but I'm
Agree.
very like
Purvis,
focused on the
100%
things
agree.
that I like.
Yes, yes.
Because I have one thing I want to bring up.
Okay,
and
okay,
then we can-
okay. Friday Night Lights, J. Cole.
Oh, it's not
We're
better.
talking about mixtapes,
Yeah,
not
no,
better.
Friday Night
Okay.
Lights better.
Friday Night Lights better. Okay. Jasper, have you heard it?
Haven't listened.
Okay. The Drought 3, Lil Wayne, the mixtape king.
All the
Wait,
way.
what is the name of it?
The Drought 3.
Yeah, the Drought 3.
Haven't
I was gonna
listened.
put no
I-
ceilings, but more people said the Drought 3, so I
Okay.
included the Drought
That-
3.
So that's the other thing is
I've
like I'm not a
if you
super
put no
mixtape
ceilings,
guy.
I would have said no ceiling. But
I was gonna
I
put
gotta
no
say-
ceilings, and I
gotta
had changed
say
it.
Haven't listened. I'm gonna have to say.
Okay. Technically, this is a mixtape. If you're reading this, it's too late, Drake. It's technically a
No.
mixtape.
No, if you're
No.
reading this, is too absolutely.
Better? Okay, Jasper?
For my taste, no.
I think that is
Okay.
almost Drake's best. Take Care edges it out, but I think that
I have to
Okay.
again. I haven't listened to this in 8 years. I'd have to go back.
I mean, yeah, that's
But-
completely
but,
fair.
But to my taste personally, no. At this point.
Okay,
also not super objectionable.
the mixtape about nothing, Wale. I've listened to this, and I love this project.
Wale, I'm sorry.
I haven't
Okay.
listened.
Okay. A kid named Cuddy Kid Cuddy.
Oh fuck!
no,
Shit. No,
Like, I know, Jasper, like, come on.
Yeah, no, that's better for sure.
Okay. Long live ASAP Rocky.
Better. That's better. I think than
That is better?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you listened, Brandon?
I have.
I haven't
I'm not the
listened in a
biggest
long
ASAP.
time.
I'm a bigger fan of Travis Scott
Me
than
too.
ASAP Rocky.
I agree.
I think I'm probably.
I just remember that project hitting
I'm
hard.
gonna probably say Long Live ASAP because I do remember liking it.
Yeah.
But
Cool. Okay. I like that. So we're both gonna go with better. And I agree. House of Balloons The Weekend. Brandon, I already know your answer.
no.
I don't
Jasper.
doubt that. I don't doubt that it's better, but I haven't listened.
Oh wait,
to
you
it.
haven't listened to
I
the
would-
trilogy.
I would
Damn it.
Jasper.
He hasn't
I know.
listened to the
I
trilogy.
know.
Don't
I know.
listen-
I know.
Don't listen to trilogy. Do not listen to trilogy. Right.
Hey, my hands are up.
Well,
I'm
no,
just saying.
'cause, like, I gotta just say it because I do think like all the stuff you say that you really like about this mixtape that I
Mhm.
don't think is wacky. I think, which is most of it. I think you will find House of Balloons scratches that itch. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm familiar with the project. I just
Yeah.
haven't listened to it all the way through. Yeah, I know.
I would put this as honestly over the years.
I told him to move it up on his list. Whatever's in front of it, move it up. Except
have-
for the Kendrick that you're listening to, move it up.
Hold on a second. I have a list.
I'm excited for this.
So we've got the list. I'm just gonna like put it there. This is it here. And these are artists who I've either started listening to and I'm like working my way through their discography, or it's people who I've put on my list as like I need to listen to them and I haven't started. That being said, pretty much everybody on this list I have like some familiarity with their hits or like other stuff that they've done, or I like them as features. So Mac Miller, I think I dropped off after watching movies, and I need to keep like pick back up.
Oh, you got a treat.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
got
just-
some treats coming up.
I did
Even though
not
watching movies is my favorite of his album.
I did not mess with Macadelic, and it really like slowed me down. I was like,
oh my god.
I don't know. It was just like something like Blue Slide Park is like it's a party album and it's a fine whatever. But then like moving into this later like stuff after that, I was like, I was like so. So I need to get back on the
Mac
back
Miller's
on the horse.
later albums
better.
are very different.
I found
Very different.
The
Yeah.
one I bounced off of was 100.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Good AM.
10 a.m.
Good AM.
Good AM.
Good AM.
Good AM.
I love.
bounced off of
I like Good AM. I like Good AM.
Upon revisiting, I like Good AM. But like at time, I loved watching movies with the off. I always said when I finally get my own comedy special, I was gonna, yeah, I told you this. I was gonna recreate the cover to that album, and it was gonna be watching Fox News with my off, because that's the joke I had in my old act. Like,
God damn.
you remember when I told that joke, Purvis?
Yeah, I do. I was there. All right, Jasper. Who else is on your list?
So then Kendrick is next. Well, before that was Frank. I bumped Frank up because Purvis gave me a sense of urgency about it. Thank you for
you're
that,
welcome.
because I listened to pretty much everything that's actually relevant, with the exception of like some of the real early stuff.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I mess with that super hard, regular rotation now. Then it's Kendrick, and I've worked my way up through Untitled Unmastered, and I'm in Damn now, and I'm like going through.
Okay.
Then J. Cole.
Oh yeah.
Gotta say, like of the J. Cole that I know, I don't love his flow, but
Okay.
we'll see how that evolves. And
We'll give it some time.
My reference for this being No Role Models and like Kevin's Heart and a couple other songs. I know they're like everybody's favorites. I don't know. It's just like
It's not my ass. Listen to
I'm
Neighbors. Listen to Neighbors.
about to say, Brandon's gonna say, "Listen to Neighbors."
Yeah.
That is I think maybe even a better individual song than.
It's a great song.
It's like one of
It's
the
a great
best
song.
hip hop songs.
Right.
The neighbors think I'm selling dope.
So next is The Weeknd, and I mess with a lot of Weeknd. I know all the hits well, and I like know all the words. I know who produced them. I know all the Daft Punk connection, like all that shit. I just haven't sat down and listened to the projects like all the way through.
That'll be a treat.
That'll be good. Yeah, because
then
he
go
has
ahead.
a U-shaped career. Like,
Yeah, okay.
Where his
Like highs,
does.
mids, and
mixtape
highs
stuff,
again.
Mixtape stuff, incredible.
Yeah.
Top tier.
Top tier. His debut major albums are fine.
Yeah, and then Starboy was kind of like people
Starboy
didn't mess
is
with
where
it as
they
heavy,
started
right?
picking
Yeah.
back up for me. Like I like Starboy
Oh, okay.
a lot. After Hours, I put After Hours up there with. Like I think it is like absolute. Full stop. I think The Weeknd I like more than like.
I'll let you have it.
Yeah. I think
Brandon, did you?
I'll let you
I
have
think he only has one
it.
album better than Blonde. I'll say that. But like, I as an artist,
I sent a meme to the group chat of an otter drawing its back paws, and it was like wiggling and it was set to the rhythm of Blinding Lights. And I was like, "This is Brandon at any
Literally
given
Brandon.
moment."
which is crazy because usually I'm ironically.
Rejection.
Let's see
Okay.
what else. What else do we have on the list? So then I put Jack Harlow just because I wanted to understand what the hype is about, and then I heard that the latest project was really not great, so I was like, maybe I'm not going to do that.
You don't have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done it.
It's
okay.
Yeah, you don't. I don't think Jack Harlow is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
It's just bland, like palatable stuff,
It's
right?
bland,
It's not
palatable.
like
He is only noticeable for maybe being one of the least racist. Like,
Beautiful.
Which is okay.
yeah, which is
okay.
We stand a non-racist king.
Yeah, like,
And then I had Nigo, who I've become very familiar with.
Oh, yeah,
I really,
Nigo, yeah.
I really like I Know Nigo a lot. A lot of the songs on there are in regular rotation for me. Then I'm just gonna like rapid fire the rest of these. Lil Baby, Joey Badass, Earl Sweatshirt, Future, Migos, Lil Yachty, A$AP Rocky, Jid.
I should do that. I should do that because I've been wanting to
Okay.
go back into classics. And I have a reading list. There's no reason I should.
Yeah.
Brandon,
say-
you know my album list is like 10,000 albums.
I think
I'll
you
read
were-
you my
haven't
much
you
less
been
interesting
caught
reading
up?
list.
I think you caught up by the time we started doing
I've
reviews.
been whipping through. Jesus, Zay just tweaked. Sorry. I've been whipping through my albums. But it's still growing nonstop. So like, I have probably 30 albums on my Spotify to like listen to.
Me too. I got about 20. All right. So there's one question I want to ask you guys.
Wait, I'm not done. I'm almost done. It's only 3 left.
Okay.
Because I am going to make a point at the end. Days Before Rodeo, Travis Scott, his other mixtape.
I can't.
I put Days Before below.
Okay.
Personally,
I can't
pacing
say.
wise,
I have not listened. It's been almost a decade.
I listened to them both today back to back, and I gotta say, just like basement backyard basement freestyle, backyard, and then like back, like that latter half just kills it for me. I don't know what it is. It's just like the momentum stops. I don't know.
I get it. Honestly do.
Yeah.
Detroit Big Sean. Have you listened?
Haven't listened.
Brandon?
I haven't listened. I've definitely am familiar with it.
Okay. Last one, Earl Sweatshirt. Earl.
Haven't listened. He's on my list.
Okay. Now, just give me,
Wow, no
entertain
Big
me.
Crit.
I had Big Crit and I replaced it with The Weeknd. You're welcome. I literally had Big Crit. I'm not joking.
Could have done both.
Now, give me 1 second. Just entertain me for
There was
1
also
second.
another one that you big one.
Which one did I miss?
Considering he is a contemporary of Travis Scott, often Drake's date. I would say
October's Own or something like that.
OVO.
No. Nothing was the same. No.
Oh, you brought up.
I brought up Nothing Was the Same,
if
but
you're
there's
reading
another
this,
one.
You're too late.
Yes,
But
there you
his
go.
debut, which I think is a more accurate. Like that's the other thing is that like I really think like it's very unfair to compare this. And like if you compare it to Drake's debut, I probably still take that, but it's
No, I follow. Hold on. Let me
your point.
just count my numbers. I
Also,
don't want to get them wrong,
I
you know.
I don't want to like pat me and Jazz on the back, but we were very civil. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, this
Absolutely.
was a lot less of a fight than you.
No, I said I was going to be a referee. That's all I said.
The fact that you agreed with me that it's not a fair comparison to acid rap is, I think, what saved us all
Well,
from having
yeah, no,
another hour.
it just isn't. Like, it just isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's comparable to acid rap in the sense that any art is kind of comparable to art in this.
Yeah, but like,
But
if you're gonna
I think
be,
it's a more fair comparison is 100%.
yeah.
It's
And
just
honestly, like,
I do think like when you're talking about timing and cultural and moments, I think like acid rap might be important because I think like imagine Travis's career if there wasn't acid. Like imagine like if like probably could have been a very different. Probably would have had.
definitely.
Okay. So I'm going to say this, and you can take the information as you want. And this is why I want to do it. Brandon, you would put this 11th out of 15 mixtapes. The only ones you put lower are the ones you do not know. Jasper, you would put this 3rd out of 15 mixtapes.
Yeah.
But
you don't know 9 of them.
Yep. That checks out. That's me in a nutshell, man.
In
So,
a olive branch because I'm Italian. I name one artist whose debut mixtapes are definitely worth. And that's
Who was that?
Childish Gambino. All of his mixtapes
Absolutely.
are
facts.
like
Absolutely.
Sick boy,
Sick
get that
Boy
shit out of
awful.
here.
Like, I'm sorry, Donald. top 10 favorite artists of all time. The
Hate your mixtapes.
Well,
So
maybe
here's the
not
thing, right?
royalty, but I don't think that's fair.
Royalty is
doesn't
okay,
count.
but
That
yeah,
one's
it doesn't
okay.
really count.
Royalty's incredible, but like,
So
Yeah.
I will say I was never like super internet connected when it came to music up until college. Pretty much, I like listened to what I listened to because people recommended it to me, and I was like an iPod kid. I didn't have the internet connectivity to like download shit. I would just like put shit on my iPod and listen to it into the ground. So that's how I got to know like a lot of stuff really well. Now, I really messed with Camp, and because the internet and Kawaii later on when I was in like late high school, early college, and I never understood. And even EP, like he's always talking about like I'm getting hate. They're calling me a white guy, yada yada yada, and I never understood it. And then I went back and I listened to the mixtapes. I listened to Poindexter and Sick Boy and Cul-de-sac and all these others. The fact that the song "Fat People" exists, I'm like, yeah, you deserved it.
Yeah, no, he definitely deserved that. I think there are good early Childish Gambino. The All the Lights one is really cool. The one with Adele is really cool.
The Awesome.
Whatever
the awesome
one with
is cool.
Chance slaps. Just gonna say
Chance is on the song. It's great. Like,
and yet Chance blundered, man. My God.
Oh my God. Favorite song? That's like my favorite song.
Questionable.
That was my
questionable
favorite song.
lyrics are something that I wasn't expecting to find on my revisit to Acid Rap like 2 days ago, and I very much did.
No, they're very
It did not.
There
Yes,
are
it did not age.
plenty of questionable lyrics.
Yeah,
but what I did say at
with it.
work, that is a very common trend in the genre, unfortunately.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Buckle up for J. Cole.
But the fact that the fact
Buckle
that
up for J. Cole.
honestly, the fact that Travis, like his features have some like uses of the F slur and stuff like that, but nothing. Like I was surprised to go back through it. Travis doesn't really have any.
Does Travis really say anything?
Yeah,
Let's be fair here.
Like,
Let's be fair here.
Yeah, but like in passing, you're gonna get some slurs generally. That's like most of the genres, trying to be intense and edgy and whatever else. And he just doesn't have that, which I was surprised by.
To me,
that is fair.
My impression from this album that he's putting like, why would he he clearly just didn't think about the lyrics. Like he didn't put enough thought.
I understand.
You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean you didn't put enough in here to spread hate towards the gay community?
And also, like, yeah, sure, like, what a great bar. Like we are saying,
I know, right? It's not a high bar.
Like, what's the one where he talks about cum? Like, is it the second song? Like,
something like that. It's like the first song. It's like, I came in my jeans or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Well,
it's like the parents knocking on the door and he's waking up. He's like, I came in my jeans.
That's still better. That's still better than when in, what was it, 2020, Kanye said, "You lay down, I gave you the semen. I swear I heard God, the voice of Morgan Freeman."
No, it's not. That was incredible. And I'm going to get it tattooed to my chest. No, I'm not. He's an anti-Semite.
We would not be praising either one of those lyrics.
No, this is trash.
God, we gotta do our favorite bad lyrics. Oh, that's a good episode, right there.
Oh no.
Our favorite bad lyrics.
Dude,
we can go on for hours.
Well, we would have to discontinue Little B,
dude.
But my favorite of all time is "Bitches Suck My Dick." A Rowling. Like, talk about not aging well in like on vectors. Like, but also
Lil B did it first. Jesus Christ.
Also, like, in a way that like we can still laugh at it. We don't gotta take it too seriously. Like, unique sense of.
This is especially bad. This is a part of like this is just cemented in history as a very bad lyric.
I was gonna say Eminem is gonna get like a pedestal.
Oh, he's gonna be brought up.
No, he already has. But the thing is that I think like when artists are taken seriously as artists, give them that leeway, and as long as they don't like.
He changed for the better.
Yeah, as long as you don't overstep those bounds outside of your art, once you start, when you're Phil Aslow, like the singer from
Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, or Dave Mustaine, who like puts white supremacist stuff in your music, and then you do the Nazi shows, like you can't hide behind it. But like when you're Metallica talking about World War II, like there's a little bit there's a little bit more of a distance.
It's different.
Okay, so
Grading?
can I ask you guys a question?
Oh wait,
first?
no, your question.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you
So
said
here's
you
my
had a question.
I'm beginning to wonder if this is even like the direction I want to take the conversation.
We'll keep it short.
Yeah.
If we
So
can.
here's the thing, right? So the album, the mixtape, like it's his first project. No one had heard of this. No general music, right? People who are online hungry looking had heard of this dude, right? The project was originally supposed to come out in 2012. Then he spent a year reworking on it. T.I. and Kanye West, right?
Yes. And also producing for other people.
And
yeah.
Sure, producing for other people.
But
for
on
sure.
this project,
But
that's
like,
what we
specifically
rebuilt
But like
it.
once again, like he doesn't like even producing for other people. He doesn't have many credits before. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So like he comes out of nowhere. He clearly made that Kanye and T.I. connection.
Well, T.I. discovered him.
Yeah. So
yeah.
my question is,
T.I.
like,
put him on Grand Hustle. That's
right.
like the come up story.
Yeah. So my question is this an industry plant? And if it isn't, what does that term even mean? Because, you know, and look, here's the thing. I understand rejecting industry as a concept outright because that's just kind of how music. People just picked people usually due to nepotism, and right, like that was music, recorded music for like 90% of it since 90s and before, right? My question is like, I don't know, like on one hand, like you do want to be gentle when making this album because it's the first mixtape, but like Chance didn't have Kanye and T.I. in his corner, you know, like
He did not.
House of Balloons didn't have like level of like all
Literally
those,
homeless.
you know, like he was literally homeless, like, and like I'm not saying that like you know Travis Scott isn't a valid artist, doesn't deserve his success, but I'm saying like if he doesn't qualify for this term because of those things, what does that even like? Is it a pointless?
So I think the difference is that, and I'm not arguing that this isn't an industry plant because my definition is different from this, but I think that the way that industry plant as a term is used usually has a lot more to do with the corporatization of music in a way where it's like you're looking at specifically a board of executives saying this will appeal to the lowest common denominator of radio listeners. So let's really blow this up and like give them a bunch of money to advertise and make this like radio play. Like that's what I think of when I think of industry plant. And I think that's the way a lot of people see it. That being said, I think this is an industry plant, but that's because I think 99% of established music up until like 2016 was that. And I think in a truly, you know, democratic, not even democratic, but like egalitarian music system, there is no such thing as industry pull. I mean, by that definition, Drake is an industry plant every time Spotify promotes him on their main page.
Sure, but
so
like
it's like in a perfect world, everyone would discover things exclusively through like, here's a list of artists. You click on one and you listen to it, and that's it. There's no promo. There's no nothing.
You know, I do want to push back because I don't think 2016 accurate timeline to cut that off. Because I do agree, like 99% of artists were that, like up until a point. I think it's probably closer to like and I think like it is important context though that like we're not even talking about like ephemera. We're talking about like direct comparison to like Travis Scott's peak. J. Cole didn't have them.
Yeah.
Like he made connections by Jay-Z by holding signed outs. Mac Miller, Wale, Wiz Khalifa, another guy who came up. Like all these people, like yeah, they had like cultural clout like in their home cities, but a lot like him having the support of someone like Kanye and T.I. before his first mixtape is the exception, not the rule. When we're doing a direct comparison to artists who are right. So that's why I think like, and maybe it's just like my personal experience. You know, I'm a creative, professionally, and I'm very sensitive. Something out and feels very, and it's like, kind of feels like this. You know, it kind of feels like he was given a golden ticket. Thing couldn't fail because he already were started. Oh, and I'm not saying that like that's a bad thing. I'm saying that that's the reality.
I have two things then. In terms of answering your question. The first thing is, at least by the logic that we're explaining, I would say yes. I would say he's an industry plant. With that being said, is any producer that turns into a rapper not an industry plant? Because any producer is working with the artist already before they started making their own music. I feel like under the logic, every producer, including Kanye, is an industry plant.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's a good question. You know,
because... but that's the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good question. I don't know if it's like any. You know, like I think obviously, like if you're someone like Mac Miller and Big Crit who are and like their careers as rappers were right. I do think there are exceptions where no, these people came up. But got a point, you know. It is like a way to have a foot in the door, and like
it's how a lot of people enter. Yeah. So at least by the logic, then yes, I would say yes.
My only thing is that like I cannot believe I'm about to say something nice about them. But like
that's what's going to be my second point.
But like Nav has credits for years. Like, and don't get me wrong. Like when I said like this was not the worst project I ever talked about the show, I was talking about.
I know you were talking about Nav. So that's the thing. But like, that was going to be my second point.
Years of experience, producer, including having like #1 hits.
I mean that's DJ Khaled too.
Huh?
DJ Khaled too. DJ Khaled same boat.
Yeah, but DJ Khaled, I don't think. Not a rapper though, so I don't think that's
no. Right. But like in terms of production,
that's not what we're talking about.
Right.
So like, but like that's my thing. Like in Nav's specific, I think Nav might be an interesting plant for other reasons. Maybe not that. Maybe more Nav. But like.
But that's what I was gonna say. Like, that was gonna be my second point.
I think it depends, and considering the fact that like this was supposed to come out in 2012. If this came out in 2012, he would not have had credits with these working with. Now, I'm not saying that stuff like that invalidates it. I'm just saying that, like, it's not like he was working for years and then, like, Kanye
found him. And right.
It's not like he was working for years. It seems like his career as a producer, like, isn't that disconnected from his career as a rapper. It's synchronous. Just that he is definitely more respected, you know? So that's the thing. I just don't think there's that. I don't think he was working as a producer for much longer before the project came.
Yeah.
Concept. So
I think that's fair, and I think that's part of why it has that kind of really rough edge and isn't polished.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I'm fair. Like, yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily to its detriment because I think it contributes to that sound that I've been describing as like being unique to this project compared to other Travis projects.
I could agree with that.
But I think it's one of those things where there's undoubtedly an industry influence here because at the time you've got to remember Kanye good music was established already. So like it's in Kanye's best interest to find new talent regardless of where it ends up. Yeah. That being said, could Travis have tanked his own career after the fact? Sure. I mean
no, definitely. Tons of artists do.
So I don't think Kanye was the kingmaker in that way. Because there's a lot of artists who wanted to get signed to good music. Have you guys ever heard of Nestle? Or Nestle as his name? Nesly, I think it is.
No.
He's someone who nobody knows, who was approached by good music. He didn't get signed, or he didn't sign with them, and now nobody knows who he is.
No, and once again, I think specifically when we're talking about Travis Scott, I don't think undeserving of this. And when you talk about that raw, attitude project, 100%.
It's there, yeah.
It's just it's hard not to look at this guy and be like, maybe it's kind of fair to hold his debut mixtape to a higher standard than others. And when you I think there's an argument against it, but I think there's ultimately also an argument. You know?
If Kanye were producing for him, as opposed to
but
his like mentoring role and also were featured on the project, I could see that, but he's not.
It's also access to resources. Because
That's true.
I
Yeah.
guarantee this
I'd
was.
say if you know Kanye
guarantee
and he
this
was even
wasn't-
a mentor,
Yeah.
you got an advantage.
Yeah, no, like
That's
yeah,
like the
I
dinner with
guarantee-
Jay-Z or 500 grand.
Yeah, I
Yes.
guarantee this isn't the equivalent.
I'm taking the 500 grand.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yes,
like,
sir.
you know, once again, I think there's an argument that it's like, no, ultimately it's his first mixtape. Kind of have to view it. Field. I think that's valid, but I think it's also valid to say he had a lot more resources available to him at that time.
Yeah.
And like, look, I think there's other artists.
So it's not the industry plant. He's just raps Lana Del Rey.
I don't know the connection. I don't know Lana Del Rey.
Lana Del Rey's dad is a famous music executive who, like,
But-
when she had a bad start to her career, basically
But, like, to me-
scrubbed it
okay.
and relaunched her.
But to me, like, that is pretty much my definition of industry plant includes that. Like,
Okay, yeah,
like,
sure.
that's-
It's a whole
Then
bubble.
I already said yes,
yeah,
but yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
my like version of like, yes, I get it. Like, this is not someone, you know, this is not O-Town devised lab, like, but I think like, yeah, this guy. Like, listen to all those mixtapes. Like, this guy had a lot less resources, and he did a lot more resources, and he did a lot less with it. And I think like that may have affected my feelings.
Yeah, and I think that's totally valid.
All right, that's all I want. You want to do grades?
Grading. B- for me.
I give this a B+.
I think that's fair. That lines up with everything we've been saying. All right, bet. That was easy.
No, that was a lot. It was every bit as satisfying as I hoped it would be, but a lot less confrontation. Like,
Yes, that is also
so I
which
gotta
is a
ask,
good thing.
One question I gotta ask before we move on at all is, in terms of the ranking of the 5 Travis projects, where do we put it?
The worst for me.
The worst for you? Really?
Personally,
Okay.
for me, I think it's Days Before Rodeo would be the one contender. But like in terms of course, Astroworld, in terms of Rodeo, in terms of Birds, it's not even close.
And another thing I want to say before we leave is that like the thing I like Travis Scott for is just not here. Like he's a very meticulous builder of an song, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, listening to Rodeo and Astroworld is like a psychedelic.
You're in a whole different world.
It's a psychedelic trip through a clock. Like it's so well constructed.
And he does a really.
And I
Sorry,
just
go
feel
ahead.
like that's just not here. Like, but that's fine. Like, that's not the part that used the project. But like, how am I going to put
a really interesting review I read at one point of Birds that I really resonated with in terms of like his whole career musically is like, Travis Scott is the artist who will spend an unbelievable amount of time and effort to make it sound and seem as though there is no effort, or like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Which is I think a great way of putting it. It's like there's this like carefree attitude and like this lax attitude towards things that comes through in a lot of the work, but at the same time, everything about it is dialed in. Whether it's the features, the timing, beat switches, anything about it production wise is just like nailed, like spot on pretty much every time in the later projects. For me, I would say that my Travis hierarchy is like, it's like tiers. It's like Astroworld and Rodeo are both top tier. Then I would put this and Birds kind of in the same second rung, and then I would put Days Before just below that.
I mean, like, ultimately, like, I do put Birds just because I don't think it's secret.
It's not. It's got a big slowdown in the middle of the album.
It's not, yeah. Like, it is. I think that meticulous craft, I think it comes through song to song.
Yeah.
For the most part. Not all of it, but for the most part. But, like, the album as a whole, I think.
It's got a lot of strong songs, but it feels rushed compared to, like, the master plan of Rodeo and Astroworld, for sure.
Agreed.
All right. We move
Recommendations.
Recommendations. Getting out of here. I'm going to.
Hell yeah, brother.
Some food waiting for me. Should I start?
Yeah, do your
Go for it.
Okay. So you gave your recommendation to a song that was given to you by the Spotify DJ last week. I'm going to do mine this week. Jazly Meso, a song called Blue and Pink. It is a phenomenal chill song. It fit right in with the rest of the vibes of my songs. You know I like to kick back and relax. Highly recommend the song.
Awesome.
Highly recommend the song.
Incredible. Okay, so I'm going to go with my first one. You spoiled it earlier. You've already referenced it.
Yeah?
I'm recommending Two Phones by Kevin Gates.
Right.
Is it the greatest song ever written?
It's a great song. It's a great song.
He's got 2 phones, Purvis.
One for the
that?
plug. Fair enough. I'll give it to you. It's a great song.
That song came on the DJ. It was like, here's a song you haven't listened to in a while. And it's like,
thank you.
Yes!
I respect that. Okay. All right, Jasper, what's your first one?
My first one is one. So a little bit of background, just like what I got up to this past weekend. I went to a friend's graduation from beauty school. And we all went out to eat afterwards, and we went to Bar Louie near UIC. And this song was playing on the radio, and I could barely hear it. But I just like searched it on my phone using like the little sound check on Google, and I really messed with it. It's by an artist called Marie. I don't know if either of you are familiar, but it's called Sleepy Hollow, and that's
Really?
HALLOW. Super interesting. Like, I did not expect it to just be like, okay, this is a banger, and yet here we are.
Okay, bet. I'm gonna have to look into this. What's interesting enough? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I guess not really a banger. It's definitely more low key, but it's like this kind of hits. It's like I'm enjoying this. So
it's the opposite way because you put it right the first time. It's by Sleepy Hollow, right?
no, the artist's name is Marie. I thought, is it not?
I think it's the opposite way. There's a Marie
It
called.
is.
Yeah.
Shit, the album. So the album and the song are called Marie, and the artist is Sleepy Hollow. My bad.
No, you're fine. I'm big on Sleepy Hollow. I
Okay.
love Sleepy Hollow. He's phenomenal. I would recommend the entire album, Still Sleep. That's what put me on for him. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I just like totally read my Spotify backwards. On the computer, it looks pretty different from what I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is something.
No, yeah, that's a great artist. That's a fantastic pick. I support that.
Nice.
My second song then is just a classic song. We've already brought him up in the podcast previously multiple times. T.I., whatever you like. It's just it's a song. It's a banger.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, unfortunately,
you can have whatever you like. I'm sorry, you can't hate it. So that's gonna be my second song.
Okay. So my second song. This is a bit of a rap nerd song. This was on the deluxe. I am recommending I'm Beaming.
I'm beaming.
The main reason I want to recommend this is because this song has a remix with what is possibly the craziest posse cut I've ever heard. Listen to these names, right? Is Lupe Fiasco, right? We get the roughest one out of the way real quick. Asher Roth.
Wow.
Who I think on a scale between like Macklemore and Mac Miller, I put Asher Roth right in the middle. I think
I'm okay with Asher Roth.
Very good project.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Great verse on this. So it's Lupe Fiasco, Asher Roth, Wale, J. Cole,
wow,
Pharrell, and B.O.B. and Diggy Smith, son of Runner.
That is a lineup.
Yeah.
That is a lineup.
Yeah, circa
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so this is. Could you imagine a full length that squad? Like
that would be a lot. That would be a lot.
There's a reason why they only have one song, but the All City Chess Club, also one of my favorite rap group names of all time.
All City Chess Club.
That is up there with Outkast and Run the. It is. Jasper, put Run the Jewels on that list. They only have 4 albums.
Yeah. No,
we'll be discussing it soon, so you might as well get it over with.
Oh, I know.
You might want to do 1 and 2. So yeah, that's my second one. I'm Beaming. And
nice.
Check out the remix, but I'm also just hardcore record.
All right. So my second one is one that I think really doesn't get enough love. I don't think this album gets enough love. And we're going with Spoiled by Pop Smoke featuring Pharrell. It's a
Okay.
super short song. It sounds like something that belongs off of I Know Nego. It's 1 minute and 44 seconds. But this might be my favorite Pharrell song of like
Really?
the new era of Pharrell, like not including any RD.
It does sound phenomenal. To be fair, it's a really good song.
Of everything on this project, Faith already, underrated album in my opinion. I think that like it really kind of flew under the radar compared to the last one because of his passing and everything. This is like one of the best produced tracks I've heard on anything Pop Smoke of like his entire library. And right afterwards, we have 8 Ball with Kid Cudi, which I think, even though Cudi is like my favorite artist, is a vastly inferior track. I think this is like this really highlights Pharrell as just like a force as a producer, but also as an artist because he has he does the chorus on this. And it's just like a super sweet, super nice package, doesn't overstay its welcome. Really, really solid song.
I mean, Pharrell's a legend.
Yeah, he's undeniable. We know this, but like every once in a while you get one of those tracks which reminds you why that is, I feel like, and this is one of those.
Agreed.
Because I will say, not everything he touches is gold, but a lot of it is very good. And this is like, I think this stands above a lot of it as well for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, like, even gods can.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Brandon, I'm in the podcast. What kind of...
I'm sorry. Here I am ordering my dinner and like. Have you heard about the death of morality? Like,
I'm out. I'm out.
All right, everybody. Yeah, we're done. This was great. This was a really great episode, guys. Good job. And subscribe. Like,
like,